Hey everyone, and welcome back to The Explainer. Today, we're diving into a really big shift that's coming for anyone handling large amounts of cash in Turkey. There's a new regulation on the way, and trust me, it's going to completely change the game for financial transparency. All right, let's get right into it. So, let me ask you this. Are you thinking about buying a new car anytime soon? Maybe selling a piece of property? If your plans involve any of these big-ticket items, you're definitely going to want to pay close attention. Starting in 2026, the way these deals are done is getting a major facelift, and it's designed to affect pretty much everyone. We are seriously looking at a whole new era for cash transactions in the country. The main idea here is to bring a brand new level of scrutiny, a new level of transparency to the entire financial system, especially when we're talking about huge sums of money changing hands. And who's the mastermind behind this big change? Well, it's an organization called MASAK. That's Turkey's Financial Crimes Investigation Board. You can basically think of them as the country's financial watchdog, and their whole job is to stop things like money laundering and the financing of illegal activities. So the big question is, why is this happening? And why now? Well, it really all comes down to the government wanting to create a cleaner, more accountable financial world for everyone. So what are they trying to achieve? Well, the main goals are to fight money laundering, to make it way harder for illegal money to get into the system, and to really crack down on the unregistered, the under-the-table economy. And what's really important is that this applies to both big cash deals and electronic transfers. Okay, so let's get down to the nitty-gritty. How is this actually going to work? Well, the new system is basically broken down into 3 different levels, or tiers. And as the amount of money goes up, the rules get a whole lot stricter. Let's break them down. As you can see, the whole system is built on this idea of escalating proof. It starts off pretty simple with just a detailed explanation. Then it moves up to a formal declaration form. And finally, for the really big transactions, you're going to need some serious supporting documents. All right, let's start at the first level. This is the one that kicks in for any transaction over 200,000 Turkish lira. And honestly, this is probably where the changes are going to affect the most people on a day-to-day basis. You know how you could make a big deposit and just kind of scribble other on the description line or just leave it blank? Yeah, well, those days are officially coming to an end. The system is going to demand a lot more clarity. Instead, the banks are going to require you to pick the reason for the transaction from a specific list. Things like a home purchase or ev alımı. And if your reason doesn't fit any of those and you have to pick other, get this. You'll have to write out a description that's at least 20 characters long. No more one-word answers. Okay, so let's climb the ladder to the next level. When your transaction goes over the 2 million lira mark, the requirements really step up. A simple explanation just isn't going to cut it anymore. At this point, you're going to have to fill out something called a cash transaction declaration form. This is a serious official document where you have to legally declare where the money came from and where it's going. And this form does not mess around. It gets straight to the point, asking 2 really basic but crucial questions. Where did you get this money, and where is this money headed? So you'll have to be super clear, saying something like, the money came from selling a property and it's going toward a new investment. And now we get to the highest tier. We're talking about those really, really big transactions. Anything over 20 million lira. This is where the scrutiny hits its absolute maximum. See, at this level, it's not enough to just say where the money came from, even on an official form. Now, you have to prove it. You've got to provide concrete, official documents to back up every single thing you claim. So for example, if you sell a building and you walk into the bank with 25 million lira, you can't just say, oh, this is from a property sale. Nope. You have to bring the official sales contracts, the title deeds, the whole shebang to actually prove it. So what does all this mean for the business world? I mean, think about industries that handle a ton of cash, right? Jewelers, car dealerships, real estate agents. How is this going to affect them? Look, for honest businesses, yeah, it's going to mean a little more paperwork. There's no doubt about that. But the flip side, and the long-term goal here, is to build trust. This new rule basically draws a very clear line in the sand, making it so much harder for illegal activities to hide in plain sight. And really, that increased transparency is meant to protect and help honest business owners in the long run. Okay, we have covered a ton of ground, so let's just boil it all down to a quick checklist. The key things you absolutely need to keep in mind as we get closer and closer to 2026. First up, and this is super important, so listen closely, There's one major exception to all these rules. If you're just moving money between your own personal accounts, like say from your savings account to your checking account, none of these declaration rules apply. This is all about money coming into or going out of your financial circle, not just moving around inside of it. So, what is the one date you need to remember out of all of this? Go ahead and circle it on your calendar. January 1st, 2026. That is the day this new era for cash transactions officially kicks off. So you've got some time to prepare, but it's a really good idea to start getting your head around these changes now. And that really brings us to the final big question. These new rules, without a doubt, they add more steps, they require more paperwork from everybody. And the question we're all left with is this. Is all this extra administrative hassle a price worth paying for the promise of a more transparent, more secure financial future? That's definitely something to think about. Thanks for joining us on The Explainer.